Welcome back. This video is a bit of a rant, actually, because why not? I know some of you watch my Black Belt Barrister channel for law, and sometimes you come to secrets here for my opinions on the law and what's going on in the news. And sometimes I like to have a bit of a rant. Sometimes I do that on Black Belt Barrister, and sometimes I'm going to do it here because there is a tangential connection with the law, so it's worth doing, but it really is just a bit of a rant. So without further ado, let's get into it. So if you're in the UK, you'll be familiar with the Mobile Network 3. And if you're not in the UK, you might still be familiar with it, but it's a mobile phone network. Now, I've been with 3 for, I think, at least 15 years. And over the years, I can say that I've traveled about all over the country, to and from court, hotels, you name it. I've been there on every train that's going. And I have noticed over the years, my personal experience, a gradual decline in the service. It's got worse and worse and worse. And to the point that I've had enough, because if I'm in the middle of a big city somewhere where there is likely to be Wi-Fi, then the chances are the data connection is pretty good. But those areas are usually covered with Wi-Fi, so there's usually Wi-Fi there. So I don't need the data. When I need the data, it's when I'm out and around, like it's a mobile phone, right? So when I'm out and mobile, I need a good data connection, but it doesn't work. But this video is not really about the rubbish service that I've personally experienced for legal reasons, you understand. This is my opinion, my experience, having used it, and I can tell you my opinion. It's not so much about the network itself. I've just thought enough is enough. I'm going to change network. So my contract is up. And so I've got a bolt-on contract for my son as well. And so onto that bolt-on contract, that is also out of contract. And so they are both independent numbers, and I can move them elsewhere. Now, there's twofold, really. One, I just couldn't get access to the account. And two, the data wouldn't work on that second line. Now, getting access to the account is one thing because it's meant to be sort of attached to my account. And so I'm supposed to be able to ring up and administer the account and that sort of stuff. But I should also be able to log in and administer it like that. But I couldn't. It kept directing me to my own number and not this number. And so I couldn't get into the plan. That'll be important in a moment. But the main problem is the data just wasn't working. Now, this was for a period of about a week. Now, phone calls worked. And obviously it worked connecting to Wi-Fi. There's no problem with that. But the mobile data just didn't work at all. Now, at first I thought this is just rubbish service. This is just, a continuation, exacerbation of the original problem with the lack of service. But alas, not the case. It was a more fundamental problem than that. It turns out to be a really basic one, but I'll go back to that in a minute. But it just didn't work. So I get in touch with the chat support thing. First, it sends me through the chat bots, and eventually I get to chat to somebody, and he then takes me through a whole process of elimination, analysis, and fault finding to see what's wrong with this thing. I reset the data. I confirm to him that I've done it, but I do it anyway. Reset the data network settings, the other network settings, restart the phone. I cleared the cache in Safari, even though we don't use Safari, but cleared the internet browsing and all the saved data and everything else in Safari. All these different tests. And eventually he says, you have to go back to Apple because this is not our problem. And I didn't believe it was Apple because, it's just an iPhone. I've never to this day had an iPhone go wrong in the sense that it just stops receiving data. Yes, there are settings. Yes, they need to be reset sometimes. But when I say go wrong, I mean nothing that I can't fix. So I've never had a problem that I couldn't just fix by resetting it or, clearing the data and all that sort of stuff. So I said to him, no, I don't accept that it's anything to do with the phone. It's just working and working and working and then just stop working. I've updated it, I've cleared it, I've refreshed it, I've got rid of the cache, everything else. That's not the problem. But by the by, he said, go to Apple. I said, okay, fine. Look, just give me the PAC code. That's the portable code, the code to port your number to another provider. He said, no, we can't do that because we haven't resolved the problem yet. And I thought, well, you've given up on resolving the problem. So why can't you give me the PAT code? I said, no, you told me your diagnosis is done. You told me to go to Apple. I said, so give me the PAT code. I said, we are leaving the network. We're going somewhere else. And he said, no, this problem is unresolved, so I can't give you the PAT code. I said, rubbish. We're entitled to leave the network and take the numbers with us. So give me the PAT code. All of this on chat. And it, by the way, in between each message was like 2 or 3 minutes. So the whole thing took an hour. And I said, no, we are leaving the network. Give me the PAT codes. He said, when did you first experience this data problem? I said, no, you had your shot. You tried to resolve it, didn't resolve it. Give me the PAT codes. He said, I need to try to diagnose the problem first. I said, no, you already tried to diagnose the problem. You sent me to Apple. You said it's Apple's problem. So I'll go to Apple, but I want the PAT code. And then we went round in circles, and eventually he agreed to put me onto someone else to give me the PAT codes, and they went through and said, let me just read through the chat first. I said, no need to read through the chat. I just want the PAT codes. That's what they've put me through to you for. And so then he said he's just going to have a look. He said, can you confirm what number it is for? And I said, okay, here's the number it's for. And I gave him the number, and I said, I just want the PAT codes. And then they cut me off. And so I spent an hour going around in circles for something they didn't fix and wouldn't give me the PAT codes to leave the network. And then eventually I spent another 30 minutes or so trying to get back into the account. Eventually I found out that they'd assigned a different email address. I don't know where they got it from, but they'd assigned a different email address to the account so that I could log in after all. And guess what? Somehow there'd been some issue on the account and there was no data available on the account. I still don't understand that, because there's supposed to be data on the account. There's supposed to be data on that plan. I don't know if when it went out of contract, they've changed it without my consent, my knowledge or whatever, but there was no data on there. It said there was zero data available, and that's why the data wasn't working. And so that is my genuine experience. I am utterly frustrated. I've wasted a huge amount of time. I'm going to have to waste more time going back for the PAT codes if indeed I want to keep the numbers, which I kind of do, because I don't really want to go to everybody that has my number to give them my new number or whatever. So I do want to keep the numbers. So I do need the PAT codes. And in any event, I need to contact them to cancel down these contracts so they don't keep charging me. So that's my rant. It's really utterly frustrating. I did ask one chap who I saw him inside a restaurant using his phone, and he was browsing away, and mine just said no signal, no data signal with 3. And so I went to him. I said, do you mind me asking, who are you with? And he told me that he's with EE. So that seems to be who I'm going to go with. If anyone's got any experience on whether EE is any good, whether anyone else is any good, whether you've had a good experience with 3, equally, let me know. But let me know your experiences. As I say, this is a bit of a rant. I had to get it off my chest. And just to say that you're not alone. I mean, I'm a business person, a barrister, and everything else. And if I have struggled with this with respect to you, then what chance does the general public have? There's no special words or process or anything else. We're all stuck in the same boat and we all have the same problems. But either way, I need to cancel down these contracts. So anyway, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.